Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and in today's video we're going to have the latest from the live radar, from the latest UKV, have a look at the precipitation and the temperature over the next 5 days as we continue to look fairly dry and hopefully sunny as we do progress into this upcoming bank holiday weekend. Now we've had the risk of seeing some thicker cloud, a few showers and potentially low pressure arriving into early next week. And that is all still expected, but it has been pushed back slightly in the latest runs, which is positive news if you have got plans over the bank holiday weekend, as we're expecting it to be fairly warm, temperatures slightly above average, hopefully plenty of sunshine, but again, it will be very regional. And the low pressure systems, the unsettled stormy conditions, ex-Hurricane Ciaran, all of those impacts are not going to arrive until Tuesday at the earliest. The models have pushed it back ever so slightly, or at least have consolidated with that latter time frame. So things are looking brilliant now for the bank holiday weekend, looking bone dry, pretty warm, and just generally pretty pleasant. However, as I said, as we head into the middle of next week, by Tuesday, Wednesday, low pressure will return, and it will return with a vengeance. We are likely to see widespread heavy rain, lots of heavy showers, stronger winds, and cooler temperatures, of course, with that. And that does set the scene for the final few days of August and start of September. It's not a one and done kind of low pressure system. It does look like we are going to see a much more powerful Atlantic regime, and we'll see that in the second half of the video. So do remember, if you enjoy the videos, to like and subscribe. Now, fortunately, you can see we're still under higher pressure as we head through the rest of this week. Recording this a little bit later on, Wednesday evening, just before 10 PM, so a little bit later on in the evening. But you can see mostly dry at the moment, not too much going on. Some cloud around today, but generally not been too bad. Lots of showers and some storms across much of mainland Europe. So fortunately, we are not getting involved with that as we still have high pressure extended over the top of us. Temperatures haven't been particularly warm today. They've not been, abysmal, but they've been a little bit chillier, around average or below average for the time of year, but still high teens in most areas. So still feeling pretty pleasant wherever you see a bit of sunshine and the winds do die down. Now, if you look at the latest UKV, you can see conditions weren't too bad earlier, but pretty cloudy conditions and a few odd showers around. As we head into Thursday, it's going to be a similar story. Quite a bit more cloud, perhaps less breaks in that cloud, and again, a few odd showers. But again, generally speaking, it's not bad. We prefer this over potentially what's coming next week. As we head into Friday, again, some thick cloud, but again, a few outbreaks of sunshine. And then as we head into the bank holiday weekend, a few showers maybe initially on Saturday, but things starting to brighten up a little bit. A few more breaks in the cloud. And as we head into Sunday, yes, again, a few pop-up showers, but generally speaking, a lot more sunshine around, and temperatures will reciprocate. Ahead of the lows arriving from the west, it will have a small southerly push, and we'll see that on the ensembles at the end of the video. There's this small spike in the upper air temperatures going about 5 degrees above average. Could see mid-20s across large areas through Sunday and maybe even Monday. But look at that. Monday afternoon, plenty of sunshine, a southerly wind. You can see the direction of the clouds moving, a southerly wind, and it looks really quite beautiful indeed. But just to our west, just off screen, low pressure is sitting, and it will be moving in the subsequent days. And we see that on the mean sea level pressure. Low pressure is just out to our west with the southerly flow, and it will be coming in with a vengeance. Heavy rain, stronger winds, and just generally more unpleasant conditions for Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Look at the max temperatures set earlier today, widely kind of mid to high teens, so not particularly great, but it's not abysmal. It's slightly below average for the time of year, but it's better than heavy rain. As we press into Thursday, it's a similar story. High teens, maybe touching 20, 21, so still a little bit disappointing, but again, can't complain too much when it is dry. Friday, temperatures jumping up slightly, 20 to 22, so again, getting closer to average, and you can see into Saturday, temperatures climbing again to those similar levels, because it's up and down the country, so it's not just warm in the south, seeing 20 degrees in the north as well, so still fairly pleasant there for late August. Into Sunday, temperatures could jump a little bit higher, more 23s, 24s, 25s, again, looking actually really quite warm and pleasant. And then finally into Monday, temperatures jumping up even higher, maybe even 26 or 27. It's actually looking like a stunning bank holiday Monday there before the rain, as I said, arrives into Tuesday. Now, if you look at the latest GFS, you see the high pressure in control at the moment. It's kind of splitting away, see slight lower pressure across mainland Europe, and that is what is causing those storms. But low pressure is sat out to the Atlantic, and it's going to slowly head our way, but it's going to get really powered by ex-Hurricane Ciaran, which is moving through in the next few days. You see, by Monday, we've got this southerly wind under a slither of higher pressure But look what happens into Tuesday. The low pressure arrives and it comes with a vengeance. Yes, it perhaps won't reach the Far East through Tuesday, but it definitely into Wednesday. You can see low pressure really powering through, spiralling around, lots of heavy rain and unsettled conditions. And for the rest of this run, could see small, brief ridges of higher pressure, but generally speaking, westerly flows and low pressure sat close or over the top of us for the foreseeable future. Perhaps not as quite of an onslaught as some runs have shown over the past few days, but still a westerly flow, still lots of low pressure and lots of rain and wind. I think the best way to show this is if we have a look at the accumulated precipitation. Very little rain here by Monday afternoon, but if we watch the subsequent days, you can see everywhere starts to see some rain. By the end of the week, the rainfall really starts to top it up in the west and then progresses further eastwards as well. And you can see by the end of this run, we are dark purples and dark blues, seeing a good 1 to 2 inches of rain. And pretty much all of that falls in the last 4 or 5 days of this run. So initially, not looking too bad, but once that the Atlantic is unlocked in around 6 or 7 days' time, then things will deteriorate quickly, leaving, as I said, poor conditions there to end August and start September. But as I said, the best thing is it's arriving Tuesday, Wednesday, straight after the bank holiday. So hopefully we can all have an enjoyable bank holiday weekend. If you look at the GM, it's very similar. High pressure in control, low pressure pushing in. But as I said, it's not properly arriving until Tuesday. Even here, really only arriving far west for Tuesday. The wind's picking up, looking unsettled before we head towards day 10. Again, not an absolute Atlantic onslaught, but low pressure is sat over the top of us or nearby us. So to us at the surface, we probably wouldn't notice much difference. And look at that, lots of heavy showers, potentially some storms, and generally lots and lots of heavy rain. You can see all these showers spiraling around. And again, if we do a similar thing, look at the accumulated precipitation, almost zero precipitation in most areas until midnight on Monday night. Next couple of days, rainfall really starts to tot up. So as I said, it is going to be very much turning the tap on as we head through Tuesday, Wednesday, going from bone dry conditions pretty much for most areas to very unsettled, lots of heavy rain, again initially in the west, but all areas you can see here, you're seeing good 10 to 20 millimetres, up towards 30 millimetres or even higher across higher ground there as we do end August. Now to finish by looking at the latest ECMWF, again high pressure in control, the low pressure systems though arrive into Tuesday, but look at that, it's slightly more delayed. Even the ECMWF holding off Hurricane Ciaran through Tuesday, but doesn't last too long, and Wednesday the low doesn't move through. Similar to the GM, it's not absolute Atlantic onslaught, but low pressure is close by or over the top of us, and that would result in, look at that, lots of heavy showers and potentially storms. We've got out to 360 hours here, and you see more heavy areas of low pressure and heavy areas of rainfall there as we do head towards the end of the week. Look at that, really heavy rain there moving into the fast southwest. And again, if we run back to kind of day 6, day 7, as we head into next Tuesday, Wednesday time, bone dry conditions, if we put on the accumulated precipitation, very little, and then look at this, absolute onslaught of precipitation. So yes, not seeing perhaps the sort of train of low pressure systems, but with low pressure sat over the top of us or nearby us, look at that, 2-3 inches of rainfall across many areas there to end August and start September. So I can't emphasize this enough. It's looking pretty decent for the next 5-6 days, and then things go downhill very, very quickly. Now, after you finish by looking at the latest ensembles, you see this quite clearly. A little bit chilly over the next couple of days, but the upper air temperatures do climb through the weekend in towards Bank Holiday Monday as a result of that southerly wind ahead of the main lows. But then as soon as those lows arrive, in about 6 or 7 days' time, then precipitation picks up a lot, and you can see temperatures are not particularly warm either. Classic westerly flow. So that's what is in store to end August and start September. We're starting to set those dates, timings and expectations into concrete. We have been, of course, speculating with different ideas over the past few days, but definitely starting to see this idea really firming up of low pressure, pretty much moving back in for the west through Monday night into Tuesday, and then further eastwards Tuesday into Wednesday. And then beyond that, it does look like a lot of low pressure and a lot of rain will be sitting in and nearby us. Look at the pressure drop. That just marks it there. Pretty much high pressure in control through Tuesday. Monday is a bit of a transition, but really it's Tuesday through to Thursday, where low pressure really dominates. Pressure rising longer term, but that's in sort of speculative range. So again, the sort of the medium to longer range, we're all in lower pressure. And of course, we're looking at London, which is pretty far east relative to the centre of these lows, so it'll be even worse further northwards and westwards. And after you finish by looking at the latest ensembles, we look at the midnight runners. The midday runners have fully come out. It's very similar, a little bit cool over the next few days. Temperatures return to average, not quite as much of a spike there through Monday, but generally beyond the end, start of next week. Temperatures hovering around average, and precipitation looking pretty high as we do head towards the end of meteorological summer and start to autumn. So yeah, long-term prospects are not looking good, but the silver lining is that it's going to be arriving after the bank holiday weekend. So for the time being, we can kind of forget about it, enjoy your weekend, and then yes, we are going to see a lot of rain and return to probably some pretty proper autumnal conditions for the first time in quite a while, as we have seen some heavy rain at times this summer. It's been few and far between, but has been around, but it's been mostly thunderstorms. Of course, we saw some stormy conditions a few weeks ago, but it's been nothing too sort of consistent and widespread, whereas this is looking like it's not going to be a couple of days, it's going to be a proper pattern change, lasting the last kind of 4 or 5 days of August into the first week of September. So anyway, thanks for watching, hope you have enjoyed. Do enjoy your bank holiday weekend, and I'll see you again for another video soon.